2024 has been a fantastic year for cinema, especially when it comes to female directors, magical realism, and inventive cinematography. Everyone's experience is different, so if there is a film missing from this list that you loved, then I likely didn't connect to it in the same way, or I simply wasn't able to watch it. Now, without further ado, let's begin with Number 10. The Outrun. This year, I found it very tricky narrowing down and ordering my top 10, and the choice for this spot came down to a juxtaposition within the film that I could relate to, between the excessive busyness of London and the chaos of Mother Nature in the countryside. Rona seems in awe of both, attracted to both, and driven to loneliness by both, and I haven't seen the environment being used as such a palpable character within a story about addiction before. I think it works really well and gives new life to a well-worn topic. Number 9. My Old Arse. Some actors who become directors don't manage the role well, but Megan Park shows her capabilities here with dialogue that feels effortlessly conversational, especially between the Gen Z characters that, to my eyes as a millennial, seem like honest depictions. They speak the lingo of the youth, but are still funny and relatable and confront the coming-of-age questions like everyone else does, but connected to their own generation's experiences, be it less involved with technology than the teenagers in Bodies. The Sci-Fi inciting incident is very creative and enjoyable, and when that final confrontation happens, the film becomes far more poignant than anticipated. Number 8. Civil War. This is such an understated sci-fi, and I think Alex Garland excels at those. The dystopian elements of every film that he's made are so delicately woven into his stories. You know there's more backstory, but it's not about that. It's about the characters that are being explored, and in this film they were brilliant. Leading the group is Lee, a very experienced journalist inspired by Lee Miller, whose biopic starring Kate Winslet was released too late to make last year's top 10, so I might as well give it a shout out in this one. These journalists are there to capture moments in history, and in turn the film is capturing moments within their lives, in particular following Lee's young protege Jessie and her journey to become a better journalist. I would have loved to put this film higher up in my list, but, and vague spoiler incoming, the way that she pushed her at the end made no sense and I cannot forgive it. However, I think that the rest of the film mostly makes up for it. Number 7. Speak No Evil. James McAvoy is one of my favorite actors. He's so flexible in his performances, meandering between joy and suspicion, malice and love. And in this film, he makes for an outstanding villain. And when he gives us that line, the reason behind why they're doing this being that they let them, it was chilling. The premise is phenomenally disturbing, and although I don't know how the execution compares to the original, the remake worked for me. I haven't stopped debating the consequences of this premise, and I'm still trying to figure out what was true and what was a lie. Number 6. Gundy, Legend of Love. I appreciate that this film will be difficult to find for those of you who don't live in Bulgaria, but if it does get released more widely on streaming services, then I would highly recommend seeking it out. It's a beautiful piece of cinema and an utterly captivating exploration of love centered on a famous Bulgarian footballer. It's no typically tragic indie darling that elicits pity for its people, but rather something bold and ambitious, a biopic that spans decades and makes me proud to be Bulgarian. But even if you aren't, there's so much to enjoy here. Number 5. The Substance. One of the craziest and most stylish films of the year, with a mysterious sci-fi premise that exaggerates contemporary concerns to the extreme, and makes for a seriously unforgettable cautionary tale. Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley both give exceptional performances, especially as things get more brutal and ridiculous. But I also loved Dennis Quaid, who's giving Denethor a run for his money with those shrimps. I wanted to put this film higher up on my list, but I'm a fan of a ruthless edit, and judging by the fact that the director's name is the first of 3 editors listed, I have a feeling that she didn't want to let things go. This is likely what caused the heavy-handed messaging in the unnecessarily lengthy second act, which made me impatient with the ending. This is just my opinion, and it didn't ruin the overall effect of the film. Plus, I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that a little bit of cutting would have made this film even more impactful. Number 4. Night This film very honestly acknowledges the horrible parts of parenting and the historical imbalance between motherhood and fatherhood, and it doesn't hold back. So many on-screen mothers simply say that they're tired, but here the mother actually looks exhausted. The loss of identity that comes with being a mother is beautifully explored, and the surreal elements only seek to reinforce the observations further for the audience. She has become an animal, the woman that the father had married, as the mother so poignantly says, died in childbirth. That's a heartbreaking thought, and yet the film manages to be funny and wholesome and inspiring alongside its seriousness, helped by the beautiful cinematography. And I absolutely think that it needs to be seen by every actual or would-be parent. Number 3. Love Lies Bleeding. I might be a bit biased as I adore the 80s era and aesthetic, so this film had brownie points before it even started. However, that is just the backdrop to an otherwise superbly written, shot, and edited love story that harkens back to the madcap friendship of Thelma and Louise and the do-or-die relationship in True Romance. Yet it keeps things fresh with a unique premise involving Lou, a gym manager trying to get away from her crime lord dad, and Jackie, a bodybuilder trying to make a name for herself. It's sultry, exciting, and visually stunning, with magical realism sprinkled in to enhance Jackie's muscles to epic proportions. As I said in my full review of this film, those surreal moments might not be for everyone, and the film works perfectly well without them, but they seem to be a hallmark of director Rose Glass, and either way, I'm certainly excited to see what she makes next. Number 2. Challenges. This is perhaps one of the best examples of how much impact a score can have, because if this film had a more typical orchestral soundtrack, I don't think it would have been as effective. Those last 10 minutes, that match, I cannot get it out of my head. The score is fantastically excessive and stressful, motivating a brilliant pace to the edit. Then there's the playful cinematography, putting the camera in a tennis ball and shooting from underneath a transparent court. The slow motion is a bit over the top, but it works well since it was established at the start of the film. Thankfully, the story is just as engaging as the technical aspects, utilizing this competitive sport as the battleground for a modern twist on a princess watching two knights joust for her attention. Honorable mentions. Dune Part 2. I find it difficult to justify rewarding a sequel in my top 10 simply because it is not a complete story in itself, but I couldn't not mention the continuation of Denis Villeneuve's sci-fi masterpiece, as the sheer spectacle of it is what cinema is about, what it has always been about ever since people were scared of seeing a train coming into a station. And with this level of budget, of VFX quality, and of concept generally, it's a real treat to go see something so otherworldly on the biggest screen you can find. Inside Out 2 and Paddington in Peru. Animations often have exceptionally good writing, and both of these films are no exception. But they are sequels. Inside Out 2 expands its personification of the human mind into teenagehood, and there's so much to enjoy. Even the most cold-hearted of individuals, I imagine, would crack a smile at the sarcasms. And the iconic and lovable Paddington is back at it again with another adventure with that absolutely beautiful animation. The Apprentice. Essentially my number 11 film of the year. This film had creative cinematography, score, and color grade, which made these somewhat detestable characters far more approachable than expected. However, the main reason it needed a mention is Sebastian Stan's uncanny portrayal of Donald Trump. That made him seem more human than he makes himself, and really captured his mannerisms and increasing confidence. Number 1. Kneecap. I debated whether this film should be my number 1, but looking back at the year, it's hands down the most unexpected, memorable, and enjoyable cinematic experience that I had, which I wouldn't hesitate to recommend without any caveats. The real-life trio who play themselves seamlessly make the transition from musicians to actors, and their story is already interesting enough, but they've integrated Irish history within it alongside meaningful side relationships that apply the overarching theme themes to everyday moments between normal people. Now, I haven't looked into every single bit of Kneecap's discography, however, the songs that I've been repeatedly playing since watching the film are predominantly about illicit substances, drinking, and partying. You know, the usual rap spiel. However, the film is not about advocating the rapper-rocker lifestyle. It's a genuine, rambunctious celebration of Ireland, the Irish people, and the indigenous language that Kneecap are choosing to spread awareness of by rapping in it. Moving away from the acting and story, the technical aspects are also a delight. There's a distinct Trainspotting vibe, but exceedingly more colourful and far less depressing, with creative camera work, good use of narration, animated sections, and an overall addictive pace to the edit. Then, if you move away from the film itself and watch interviews with the cast promoting it, they couldn't be further away from the rapper stereotypes. They take responsibility for being representatives of their country and the voices of the younger working class, and they come off as intelligent and sincere, with a dash of cheekiness. There's just so much to commend with this film, both in front of and behind the camera, and the fact that I get excited talking about it is precisely why Kneecap is my number one. So there we have it, my top 10 films of 2024. Thank you for watching, and please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and switching on notifications, as it really helps us out. Comment below with your favourite film of the year. For more film content, feel free to follow us on Letterboxd and TikTok, links in the description. Otherwise, this has been Tea Break Film Reviews, my name's Michelle, and I hope you have a great new year.